Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. Before getting into the meat of our subject of the day, let's take a look at a new Presage release that will have customers scratch their heads. An homage to a chronograph that's not a chronograph. In 1964, Seiko released a rather stunning wristwatch with a stopwatch function dubbed the Crown Chronograph, which was to be used at sports events held for the first time in Japan. The Crown Chronograph was a simple chronograph based on the Crown, a manual winding mechanical watch. It was a one-push chronograph using a pillar wheel. The marketing released last week hails it as a legendary marvel of engineering worthy of a tribute. So Seiko decided to release a, I quote, faithful reproduction of the design of the first Crown chronograph. It looks alright, but it's automatic and there's no chronograph. But you get a little ugly box that they say is special, a choice of 3 colors, and it's a limited edition of 1,964 pieces, so why hesitate? The references are SPB 127, 129, and 131. Oh, well done, Seiko. This is genius! Jokes aside, imagine if they had released a reliable, manual wind, monopusher chronograph. Wait a second. So they managed that 56 years ago, but with all the tech and know-how accumulated since then, they can't do it today and instead issue a pretty watch with a common time and date caliber? What the frappuccino is this? Speaking of madness, bad news piled up over the weekend and Asian markets took another huge hit on Monday morning. That makes the Lehman crisis look like a fun ride. Oil in particular dropped 20 and now 30%, which has historically been a sign of recession to come. And now I just saw that Goldman Sachs predicts oil trading in the 20s very soon. It will take a while. Eventually the virus will die down, but for now, the watch market is bound to get crushed. While everyone speculates that Rolex will present their new models online as usual later this month, it's just about the only watch brand that punters would brave any virus to go out and buy for the near future. But remember, there's always a tomorrow, even if today we stare into the abyss. And now for our main talking point of the day. Let's get back to those new Seiko Prospex releases I mentioned on Saturday. If you own the Seiko SLA 017 or SLA 025, should you be mad at the release of the 55th anniversary limited edition models? The limited means it's still 1,100 pieces of each, which is not that much for a brand like Seiko, but is still a lot given the price tag of over $6,000. $6,000. The SLA 017 was just about 4,000. Wowzers. The first 100 of each model comes in a special bundle of all 3 models. The price will be epic. That release comes right into the worst market rout in recent memory and the biggest single day oil drop ever. You just couldn't make up this kind of mad scenario. Let's look back at the spec for a sec. Brand new steel named Ever Brilliant and hailed as 1.7 times more solid or something. Okay, cool, that's worth something indeed. The caliber moves from 8L35 to 8L55, that's 4 Hz to 5 Hz with an added 5 hours of power reserve and 9 more joules. That's also worth something. What has been bugging lots of people prepared to drop more than $4,000 in a diver is that the accuracy of the movement, supposed to be of Grand Seiko's stature, is still only rated between -10 to +15 seconds at normal temperature range, that is 5 to 35 degrees Celsius. So what happens in the winter in Chicago or pretty much all year long in Singapore to your accuracy? I don't know. That range is nowhere near what you'd expect from a luxury caliber. Hell, a relatively affordable top-shelf ETA 2824 like the one in my Longines Legend Diver runs better than chronometer spec already. And the last thing that had prevented me from going into the SLA 017, 025 or the beautiful Captain Willard luxury reissue was that a regular Seiko service center is at best qualified to change a battery, which means in many countries that type of Uber Seiko will have to be sent back to Japan for months for service. So all that trouble for $6,000, I passed. But back to our question, should you be mad about these reissues? Well, I think you should just accept that you bought a Seiko, not a Rolex. Seiko's product release cycle is closer to the iPhones than that of a Rolex. The comparison with Rolex is fair given the price bracket Seiko insists on wanting to compete in. When you buy a Rolex, you're pretty much guaranteed that the next version won't come for another 10 years and that it won't make your model undesirable all of a sudden. Yet, I still think that the SLA 017 and 025 are very unique and beautiful, as the 55th anniversary models are in blue, a color that was very much in fashion last year but that I'm growing tired of personally. The new specs come at a new price point, so that again differentiates the watches. So I don't think owners of the old should really feel too angered by the new. But the main question remains, why on earth is Seiko insisting on this somewhat not fully accomplished limited edition format that's starting to show its, well, limitation, instead of putting all their craft into making one great watch that will stand the test of time? After all, everyone was excited about the SLA 017's release, so why did it have to be limited, and why did they need to make a cheaper version of it and then another 2 years later? Just make that the luxury top-of-the-line model, and every 5 years maybe improve the steel, the caliber, the accuracy, the bracelet and clasp. I guess their marketing research believes in the current format, but let me know as a customer or would-be customer what you think in the comments. Personally, I can't reconcile the great value offered by a model like the $350 King Turtle with spending Rolex Explorer money for a watch that's not that different and will be supplanted in a year by something else. But the proof is in the pudding, so I'll go try them in the shop anyway and see for myself. Alright guys, take care.